Before we count all of these rectangles and squares, I want you to come up with what you think the answer is. And anywhere along the video, if you think you see the pattern, go ahead and pause, figure out the answer, and then I'd love to know how you did down in the comments. We're going to go ahead and start off with our 1x1 squares. Now there are 8 of these on our chessboard going across, and I can fill in those 8 along the 8 rows going down. 8 times 8 is 64. Let's go ahead and keep that running total up in the corner. Next are our 1x2s. So for those 1x2s, I can fit 7 of them in one row, and I've got 8 rows going down for 56. But these 1x2s can also be turned on their side to be a 2x1. Same exact concept, right? I've got 7 going down and 8 columns, so we get the same answer here of 56. Now, before I add those in, we need to get organized. So I've created this grid. So far, we've done these 3, the 1x1, the 1x2, and 2x1. We've got 64 in that total. For the other 2, we found those each to be a 56. So that means we've got another 112 to add, up to 176. Next up are the 1x3s, and of course those 3x1s. Now for those 1x3s, I've got 6 of those across, and I can fill in 8 rows for a total of 48. The 3x1s are going to be exactly the same, and I get 48 there. Let's go ahead and put these onto our grid. And what I'm looking for here is a nice pattern. Now let's add our 48s. That's going to be 96 that needs to be added. Our total now is 272. Do you see a pattern? Let's do one more just to make sure that we're on the right track. So for those 1x4s, I can fit 5 across, and of course 8 rows going down gives me 40. The 4x1s give me another 40. Putting those in our grid, I've got 80 now for a total of 352. So what is that pattern? As I look at the difference along that first row, 64 minus 56, that's a difference of 8. 56 minus 48, 8. 48 minus 40, 8. These are all multiples of 8, so I don't need to go back to the chessboard and count all of the rest of the 1x's. Instead, let's just count backwards from 8, filling in that top row with 32, 24, 16, and 8. And I'm going to do the same thing in that very first column. Now I already added up all of these numbers in blue. That gives me an additional 160. Adding 160 to that 352, I am up to 512. Next, we're going to do the rectangles with 2 as either the length or the width. We're again going to look for patterns, starting with that 2x2. Okay, so for the 2x2s, I can fit 7 of these working across, but I can only fit them in 7 rows going down. This gives me a total of 49. Let's put this in our grid and add that to our total for 561. Okay, are you thinking about a pattern? 56 to 49. Let's do the 2x3 next. Okay, so for 2x3s, I can fit 6 of those across. And again, I've got 7 rows that I can fill going down, giving me 42. The 3x2s turned on their side are going to give me the same number, 42. Let's go ahead and put 42 into our grid. That's going to add 84 to our total, and we've got 645. Now we could go on and do the 2x4s, but I would much rather use a pattern. So back to our grid. In that second row now, I'm going 56 to 49. That's a difference of 7. 49 to 42, that's another difference of 7. All of those are multiples of 7. So let's continue counting backwards from 7 in that second row, giving me that 35, 28, 21, 14, and 7. Same thing in the second column. All of those blue numbers now add up to 210, and we're already up to 855. That pattern makes it so much faster. Next up, we're going to do the 3x3. Now we're looking for a pattern again. Let's go ahead and count the 3x3s though, just to make sure that whatever pattern you might see is the pattern that we need. For those 3x3s, I can fit 6 of those across, and I can only fit them into 6 rows, working my way down for a total of 36. Putting that into the grid and adding 36 to my total, I'm already at 891 rectangles. Now, instead of counting those 3x4s, let's use a pattern. I've got enough numbers. In that third row, I've got 48 and then 42, that's a difference of 6. 42 to 36, that's another difference of 6. These are multiples of 6. So let's just count down, giving me the rest of those multiples of 6. And I'm going to do that in the third column as well. If I add up all of those blue numbers, that gives me another 180, and we're at 1,071 rectangles with several more to go. Next up would be the 4x4s, but I'm not going to count them. We've got enough numbers now in our grid to use a pattern. So how many 4x4s do we have? If I look at the numbers in that fourth row, I've got 40, 35, 30, it's got to be 25. And these are all multiples of 5. Let's count back from 5 in that fourth row. I've got that filled in, and then I'm gonna do the same in that fourth column. Adding up all of these blue numbers, I get another 125 for a total of, oh my goodness, 1,196 rectangles so far. Next are my 5x5s. Again, I'm not going to count these. We are looking instead for patterns, and there's a really nice one here as well. In that fifth row, 32 to 28, these are all multiples of 4. Let's count backwards from 4, and that fills in the rest of our fifth row. We can fill in the fifth column in the same exact way. Adding up these blue numbers, I've got another 64 for 1,260. We are almost there. Let's continue with our patterns in this grid. Next up are our 6x's. So that sixth row, 24 to 21 is 3. And as I look carefully at those numbers, they're all a multiple of 3. Let's count backwards from 12 using our 3's. And I get the 9, the 6, and the 3. Same thing in that column, the 9, the 6, and the 3. This gives me a 27. I'm up to 1,287. I'll bet you could finish this. If you want to pause and finish and let me know how you did in the comments, but I'm going to keep going. Next up, we've got our 7x's. This is our 7th row. 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, and 6 are all multiples of 2. So let's go ahead and add in the 4s and the 2s that are missing. I've got now another 8, 1,295. I am only missing one last type, and that's my 8x8. There is, of course, just one of these for a total of 1,296 rectangles. I've got more puzzles for you here.